And bright suns, travelers.
Bright suns, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well, having a great week.
Absolutely. This kind of gives us this is a little different for us to go live during the day.
Yeah, it is.
We're our regular hitchhiker chat is at 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, and so let me silence my notifications. There, y'all can hear that. Welcome, foolish mortals. I'm sure. So yeah, it's kind of different for us to be able to go live during the day, and we're happy to do it on these special occasions. When we get more great Star Wars content. So
for sure.
Yeah, good week. Having a
hey,
good
welcome
week.
In.
Oh,
good
hey,
to see you, Jonathan. Good to see you. Let's see here. Good to see you, Mark.
Welcome in, Mark. And Mark and I were watching the SpaceX liftoff today, or the test launch from down around Corpus. Huge rocket that SpaceX attempted to lift off today. They learned a lot. It did not make it out of the atmosphere. I don't think it had some trouble with its turn. There were some other things we could go into more detail. But yeah, it was a lot of excitement. I know that they learned a lot from that launch. It's the big guy. I mean, this one is like bigger than the Saturn V, a lot bigger. And that Saturn V is huge. If you guys have ever seen that. Hey, Angela.
Welcome in, Angela. Great to see you.
So some real life space of excitement today, because when it does take off, this was a test flight. They have to figure this out. This guy's enormous. It's not like the smaller satellite rocket that they launched successfully yesterday. So
hey, welcome in, Dean.
So we're excited about that, and hope to be able maybe to attend that launch when it's manned. So we're really hoping to be able to do that. Hey, Angela, welcome in.
Great to see you, Dean.
Thanks for popping in, Dean, the turkey legster.
Great to see you.
I know, Mark, you were probably watching that launch too. So we follow the space program. Just fascinating stuff. Good stuff. Hats off to Elon Musk and his people, his company, for all that they have done for space exploration. They have really advanced us, and we're looking forward to Starlink. They've deployed all those satellites. Starlink, I think, is just going to blow our internet, service providers out of the water. Once that is in place. I think it's still in beta testing. I haven't checked recently, but I'm looking forward to that. We will definitely get Starlink. So hurry up with that, Ellen. Elon, hurry up. Get us hooked up. Anyway, guys, it's so great to see everybody. Did we greet everybody in chat?
Yes, Angela, and is today Russ's birthday per the notes?
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And I don't have my train whistle, but it is Russ's birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Russ. We did blow the whistle for them on Tuesday.
We did. Happy birthday,
hey,
Russ.
Welcome in, Katie
Mac. Stacy Rogers' birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday. And I believe Joey from It's Joey's World has a birthday coming up on Saturday. So happy birthday week to so many of our super friends. We love you guys, and I hope you just have a really special day. Birthdays were really special at our house. And so my mom always, made a big deal over our birthdays, and I tried to, still try to make a big deal over those birthdays. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about episode 3, continuing with Mandomania. We're going to talk about episode 3 today, The Convert. This is season 3, of course, and it's chapter 19. The rating on these episodes is TV 14. This one is entitled The Convert, and Rick Famuyiwa directed this. And it's interesting because you can kind of tell each director really leaves his personal or his or her personal fingerprints on these episodes. So it's interesting. It's always fascinating to me to look and see. I can always tell, for example, when Bryce Dallas Howard was, was
a lot of my
directing.
favorite episodes are all directed by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Mine too. Mine too. I agree. And I don't think she's with the team this season, or if she is,
Good to
she
see
hasn't,
Mikey.
Officially. Hey, Mike. This episode aired the 8th. So 3/8, March the 8th.
Yeah, a little
And
bit behind. The season finale came out yesterday. I finally got to watch it this morning. Very pleased with how the season finale went. So, but anyway, rewinding back to chapter 19, season 3, episode 3, and let's see.
We had 2 new characters, or saw 2 old characters actually who were new to this particular season. Dr. Pershing from who is the clone doctor that the Empire is trying to get him to clone Grogu because his midichlorian count is so high. They're trying to do that. And then Elia Kane, who is an Imperial communications officer, icy, demeanor, played by Katie O'Brien very capably. So those 2.
And we had seen her, previously on Moff Gideon's ship.
Yes.
And obviously Dr. Pershing, as you mentioned, had been running tests on Grogu at the request of Moff Gideon as well,
and protected him. Dr. Pershing was an unwilling participant in with the Empire. Was forced to do this, and he really attempted to protect Grogu. He several times stepped in where Grogu would have been killed by the Empire and protected him. So. And Mark says, I like episodes like this that build some of the book stories and add little pieces. Yeah, I do too. And I'll tell you, Mark, Jon Favreau is a master at that. He really is
Dave
a
Filoni
master
as well.
And Dave Filoni at pulling in those little pieces, pulling in sort of seemingly small background things from the movies and from Clone Wars and Rebels, and putting them front and center in Mandalorian. And it just it's fan service. They call it fan service is what they call it, and I love it too. So yes, that's where Angela. That if I don't remember her from last season, that's where she was from. That's where he recognized her from. That's why when Dr. Pershing first sees her, he's just really taken aback because he knows she was one of the really bad guys.
So recapping the previous episode, Mando goes to see bo-katan and in hopes of enlisting her and finding help to get to the living waters on Mandalore so that he can bathe in the living waters and be redeemed in the eye as a Mandalorian. She tells him that Mandalore's destroyed. There's nothing left, and she's pretty well given up. But Mando goes to Mandalore anyway. He and Grogu descend into the mines. R5 has issues. They had to go find R5. And Mando gets they encounter some issues. You get attacked by some creatures, and then they keep making their way down into the mine. And a spider tank, really weird, creepy character, kind of really General Grievous-esque.
Creepy, but it looks cool.
Yeah,
hats off, tip of the ears to to them for that design, because this guy's really creepy looking.
And so, thanks, Dean. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Dean.
And so anyway, Mando's apprehended by this spider tank, and Grogu has to go get help. He makes his way back to the ship, faced by creatures, and makes his way back to the ship, flies back to bo-katan's palace, and Bo rescues Mando, and goes with Grogu. They rescue Mando. which she
Oh, hey,
expertly
Derpy.
wields
Welcome in. Good to see
wields
you.
the Darksaber. And yes, Mando, that is a key plot point. Mark, Mando is disarmed by the spider guy.
Yes.
And so,
Harry Potter fans took note of that for an obvious reason.
Yeah. But
yeah.
let's see here. Oh, good to see Derpy Entertainment. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
So Bo rescues Mando. Just goes to work with the Darksaber. Again, looks really good doing it, and takes care of the spider tank. Bo rescues Mando, takes him down to the living waters, where he steps in, and then immediately gets yanked under by something, and she rescues him. She dives. It's pretty sweet. She dives into the water and uses her jetpack to go down into the depths, and retrieves Mando and sees a live mythosaur while under the water, and fires her way back up, and that lands back on the steps, and outside of the living waters, and that's where this week's episode picks up.
Yes, Mark, we took note of that. We sure did. So this is where we're wow. And this last one was very poignant for bo-katan, because she is at this point again, she is really dejected because Mandalore is gone. She has pretty much lost everything. Her covert, and I don't know if you'd call them a covert, but
like R5 too, Angela
traveled with. That now R5 is a good example of that. Them taking that character, because we first saw R5 obviously in the original Star Wars. So I think we talked a little bit about that last week, but so she we'll see what happens with her. I think they intend on really developing her character in this series. So would you like to go ahead and kind of
sure.
opening scene
they're there on the steps just outside the living waters underneath the mines of Mandalore. Bo-Katan has just seen the mythosaur, and is really in shock. Din Djarin, Mando, comes back too, and and she's she's just kind of taken back, wondering whether or not she actually saw what she just saw, basically. Mando comes back too, and he asks, he says that he's been redeemed. He did bathe in the waters, and Bo-Katan confirms that. And she confirms that she is a witness. She can vouch for him. And so Mando takes a vial of the living water, because remember he said he needed he was going to bring back some proof to the armorer, and she asked Mando if he saw anything alive in the water, to which he said no. And she drops.
She's still kind of rattled. I mean, you can tell. It's really interesting to me how Pedro Pascal and Katie Sackhoff managed to convey emotion from behind the mask.
Yeah,
and you can tell from her, her movements and her body language that she's pretty rattled.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's really a testament. Both through their voice acting and also just kind of their just kind of nonverbal, their body language, is huge for all of these Mandalorians. They have to be expressive, and
without their faces, without facial expressions.
And so body language is key for these characters. Hey, welcome in. Great to see you, Tina. Written down here. Appreciate you being here. And so so as they go to leave, she kind of looks.
I'm gonna try to go see that. Pardon me. Wait, I'm up. Derpy said for a Return of Jedi 40th anniversary re-release.
Yes. There's also I believe Return of the King is either recently or, there are some theaters that are going to be showing that for that anniversary as
I'd
well.
like to go see that one. William knows how much I love that one. It's my favorite of the Lord of the Rings series. Yeah.
And so she looks back to the water, kind of questioningly, still kind of.
She's still like, I think she's got her mouth hanging open still. She's going, wow.
And so, let's see. Obviously, the Mythosaur is huge, and a huge part of Mandalorian culture. It's so ingrained in their culture that many of them, wear the Mythosaur signet. That iconic logo that was first donned by Boba Fett. And then they build on the whole mythos of build a whole culture. From the popularity of that character. And so, if it wasn't for Boba, none of what we have today with the Mandalorian even exists. So
that's true. And keep in mind that Boba Fett, y'all know, was a background character essentially.
Yeah.
He had what, 2 lines in Star Wars?
I can't remember. It's very limited.
Had 2 lines.
Yeah, but he was just so cool looking that fans couldn't drop it.
Yeah,
and so they, have since grown, created the Mandalorian people, and this
planet,
entire
the
entire backstory and people and really awesome characters have been developed. As a result. So here we are. So they get back to Bo-Katan's ship. And they fly toward Kalevala, where her castle is, but they're attacked by Imperial fighters. And I want to stop for a second because I see your notes here. I want to stop and acknowledge something. Mando, Bo says to Mando, she says, "Hey," which I can, I just watched this a minute ago. She says, I would invite you for a feast, but I don't think you're taking that helmet off anytime soon. Obviously he went through all of that to get into the waters. And so, and Mando says, "This is the way." This scene is really neat. And this is very subtle. If you blinked, you missed it. But Mando says, "This is the way." Bo-Katan reiterates, "This is the way." And then Grogu makes noises that sounds like he's saying, "This is the way."
Oh, I did miss that. I did. Wow.
He babbles it. It's like borderline, like Donald Duck, like kind of nonsensical, but it sounds like he says, "This is the way," and it happens so fast because Mando turns his head and looks back at Bo like, "Did you like like a parent would do, like
I totally missed it, and I watched it like quick. 3 times.
It's quick.
Cool.
And so, yes. So, Mando, after Bo says, I'd invite you to the feast, but I doubt you're taking your helmet off anytime soon. Jonathan. So Mando says, "This is the way." Bo-Katan reiterates, "This is the way." And then Grogu, kind of baby speak, seemingly says, "This is the way." And again, so cool. Mando turns his head back, kind of whips his head back over to Bo-Katan, like, "Did you hear that?" Like, kind of like a parent would do.
Okay, so how did I? Wow, as many times as I've watched it.
Check it out. So I missed that the first time. I caught that this morning watching it, and I was like, "Oh man!" And so I didn't see the notes, and I had to add that in because it's really exciting. But anyway, he whips his head back over to look at Bo-Katan, and then at that point they get struck by the Imperial fighters, and so Mando, goes and gets on the guns, and then realizes that they're going to have to divide and conquer here, and so he ends up jumping out of Bo-Katan's ship, which Mando just does all the cool things.
It's like we discussed. Mandalorians are just cool, guys. I mean, no wonder Mandalorians they've got all the weapons, all the stuff, all the things. There's great, backstory and proud people. Oh yeah, they're fantastic.
But it's you don't have to get too deep into this episode to see that scene, but it's really quick and super subtle. And I had to rewind it and turn it up a little bit because I saw Mando whip his head around, and I was like, "Whoa, wait on a bit, like come on, just a second,
something, something up, something's
yeah."
up."
And so anyway, it's real quick.
Cool. I
Again, if
didn't
you
see
blink,
that.
you miss it because they get hit
glad
by
you
the
caught
Imperial
that.
fighter, and so immediately you go into the action scene, and
Good
so
catch.
really neat there. But Mando makes his way, successfully gets to the N1. And Mando says, "Where'd they come from?" Bo-Katan says, "I've skunked off a lot of Imperial warlords." Mando says, which is we love the sayings. Mando says they tend to feel that way when you hijack their ships. The rest of Bo-Katan's group, is using the Imperial ships for bounty hunting essentially. And so anyway, there's some really neat scenes with these fighters. You have kind of the typical dogfight scene, flying straight up in the air with the N1, Mando does, and then coming right back down and blasting one of the ships. But let's see. So they end up taking out the fighters, but there's a smoke ring. They see some smoke coming up over the ridge, and more fighters are actually bombing her castle, Bo-Katan's castle. And she says, "Those mud scuffers bombed my home." And she engages with the fighters, but there's too many of them. They're just overwhelmed by the numbers. And Mando sends her some jump coordinates, and they jump to a place where Mando says they won't find them. So it's a great start to this episode, and then you get a complete shift. I mean, it's right at this point, they hit the jump. The focus of the whole episode changes completely at this point. We cut to Dr. Pershing, which again, the doctor that had performed experiments on Grogu at the request of the client and Moff Gideon
on Coruscant.
And
I agree with Mark. I love any opportunity to see Coruscant. I think it'd be cool to live on Coruscant. The New Republic capital.
Yeah. So Dr. Pershing speaking to a very large crowd. It's really neat. They've got like a projection system that's where everybody can kind of see like his head being projected like in a really big form, because it's a huge room with a lot of people in it. And so you've got him standing down on the stage, and then they've kind of got a little hollow.
Yeah, it's almost like a Coliseum. Theater.
Yeah, I mean, you can think to like the prequel series where Palpatine would hey no,
thanks, Angela.
Thanks for being here. But I dropped my pen. But anyway, you could think kind of same setting as like Palpatine, where there's just a ton of people gathered, like in the Senate room.
Yeah, obviously very interested in what he has to say.
And so he has entered the New Republic amnesty program. So he says his work was twisted into something cruel. He had to serve the Empire, but his intentions were good. He began his research in cloning, knowing that his mother's death could have been prevented if organ cloning had been available.
He gets pretty emotional talking about that.
He does.
Really does.
I mean, he obviously loved his mother. And you get a lot of that emotion pulled out of his character during this speech and during this scene, and so her her heart failed, I believe.
Yes. And he had said if the
organ cloning was available on this planet,
it would have been simple enough to save her. So this is it was personal to him. Becoming a cloning scientist.
And so you can think back to the Kaminoans, those from Camino, that they had created the clones for the Clone Wars, And so
he almost
kind
it was
of
almost
an
like he was
extension
saying
of
that
that work.
Right. He kind of built on on what they
Mm-hmm.
discovered. So smart guy.
So a real after this, he's kind of the hoity-toity, uppity, fancy people. He's kind of chatted up by them, and they ask how he likes living, on Coruscant, on the planet. And he says it's better in the outer rim. And one of these kind of hoity-toity high class people says he's like, I almost got drafted, could you imagine me serving? And so it's just, it helps kind of show the disconnect between the kind of high class upper echelon society versus the real people living in the galaxy. Great.
There are still those. Yeah, there's still the society types.
Yeah, and so ultimately, Dr. Pershing goes and hops on a little ship, and he's flown to Amnesty housing by a droid. Which interesting point here. This droid, the design of this droid is kind of appears to have been loosely based off of initial concept art for C-3PO, which is really cool.
Hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, he's kind of, he's kind of giving Dr. Pershing, while they're making their way through the city, he's kind of giving Dr. Pershing like the tourist overview, kind of sights to see, things to do, type of rundown.
Yeah, because he hasn't had time to see anything yet.
Yeah. And so he enters in the housing.
Yeah. He's like a taxi driver in New York City.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But Dr. Pershing shows up at the Amnesty program housing and sees other individuals sitting at the table, and he's visibly shaken a little bit by seeing one of Moff Gideon's henchmen there. You say, is it Elia?
I think it's Elia. It could be Elia. I think it's Elia. I think it's Elia.
Elia Kane. And it's kind of he's kind of awkward, he starts, he's a bit more reserved than he has been. Up to this point, he's looked fairly comfortable in the episode. And then he, kind of gets a first look at her, and it's like, oh.
It rattles him pretty hard, yeah.
And
because he knows that she was a really bad guy,
So she offers to show him around. They kind of bond a little bit about the opportunity to live in the this amnesty program, be contributing members of the New Republic. And they also kind of bond over.
They all have number designations
their previous assignment.
Too.
And
they all have
so they're all kind of,
which is kind of interesting.
They kind of bond over like the ration packs and the travel biscuits. And he says that his favorite was the yellow travel biscuits. And others are like, give him a hard time about it. But
probably like MREs
bonding scene, over between former Imperial people. But
they have a drink. They have a drink.
Interesting looking drink too. It's the little cups where they with me having baby bottles lately. They had like little lines on the side, and so it kind of reminiscent of the measuring numbers. And honestly, the drinks kind of looked like there's like I think it's like Gatorade. I think it's like ice or something. It's kind of like almost like a coconut juice-ish color, but it's a little bit more transparent. It's kind of what it looked like to me.
That's true. Yeah, it does look like coconut milk. It's kind of gross looking, actually. it's not appetizing at all, but
Yeah.
they're slugging it back. So,
but yeah, she's you know, Elia is incredibly helpful. You know, she's trying to be very friendly to Dr. Pershing. You know, and let's see. You said the notes here. So Dr. Pershing's designation is L-52. You know, it's man. I'm thinking about it. You know, I mean, I guess the New Republic has to have some way of keeping track of people's identities. You know, you've got what is the chain code is one way, but you know, it's just like, man, it's kind of I don't know,
impersonal.
Very impersonal.
Very impersonal.
You know,
to call people by a number instead of
name.
I mean, you know, you think, well, in record keeping, they would have a number, you know, for database purposes or whatever. But you think they would call each other, you know, by their names, but they don't. Which, you know, later on we see him go to a droid therapist, and it's kind of like, well, you know, their society has progressed to the point that, you know, they have droids and they deal with numbers and chain codes and tech all the time. So maybe, you know, it's I guess it's just kind of maybe secret nature to assign a person a number instead of a name.
Yeah. Let's see here. I've talked a lot, Mom. I'll pass things back over to you a little bit.
Well, that's fine. So yeah, so back in his quarters, they kind of, you know, they just kind of cut away from this, and then it shows him back in his quarters, and there's a knock at the door, and he's already in bed. He hops up and he opens the door, and there's kind of, you know, you can kind of, obviously music sets the tone, you know, for any movie or scene or whatever, and there's a little bit of a ominous feel to the music in this. He receives a gift, and it's sitting outside the door. There's this black box.
Yeah, he's looking for a person, but there's nobody there.
There's nobody.
So he kind of scans the environment and then looks down.
And there's a black box there, and on the top of the black box, it's not exactly the Empire logo, but it kind of is the Empire logo. It's like, ugh. Okay, and he opens it, and it's a huge box full of yellow travel biscuits. So, you know that somebody,
which they are individually packed. They do have the Imperial logo on them. You know, it's like this black box that kind of has some squares on the top. Yeah,
probably. And Europeans call cookies biscuits. So I'm assuming that they're cookies. Yeah, I'm assuming that they're like shortbread cookies of some kind. Although Kane's character does say that she likes the red ones better. So they come in flavors, apparently. Let's see. So yeah, to do that, you know,
it is indeed sweet tea therapy.
somebody's trying to, you know, to butter him up, shall we say. So then it cuts then to Dr. Pershing's cubicle at work. And so you go from this, you go from him being the center of attention, you know, talking about his research and his work and being, you know, lauded by the society people on Coruscant, to his cubicle at work, and he's just another person there.
Yeah, he's a cog in the wheel.
Yeah, he's a cog in the wheel. He's not, you know,
basically in a giant cube farm, you know, with droids. You know, looks like droids are kind of dropping off like medical, you know, specimens for like review or you know, something along those lines.
And it's so basically, you know, the droid is dropping off work, and you know, the coworker comes over and compliments him on his speech from last night. You know, so he does acknowledge that he saw his speech. But you know, it's obvious by the small talk and what have you that his work is pretty mundane. I mean, he's basically a data entry clerk instead of a clone engineer. Big difference. So the contrast is definitely obvious. So you know that Dr. Pershing is out of his element. So then you cut to a scene in town. And he is strolling through. Now, Kane, remember when they were at the table, Kane tells him, I'll show you around sometime. And I was immediately suspect of her because she was such a bad guy. And she was trying to establish that connection with him. So I was all of us were immediately suspect of her. So they're strolling through town. She had, said, I'll show you around. And they're eating these really funky looking light up popsicles. They're glowing.
Yeah, these are super neat looking. They're really cool. So the city at night looks really neat. All the lights and everything. A lot of people.
Yeah. It's a really neat scene there on Coruscant. And that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about The Mandalorian. We get to see places that we've never seen before. Basically, Coruscant. So many, a lot of places we get to see in Obi-Wan too, and I really enjoy that, especially Coruscant. I think Coruscant's just really pretty, and it's supposed to be being the capital. But Kane starts this conversation with him and kind of gets her foot in the door, and kind of begins to prompt him to talk about his research. And he talks about the importance of it, but he says the New Republic doesn't sanction cloning research because the ethics of it are questionable. And so she just kind of throws out there kind of casually, well, sometimes you have to follow your gut, that blindly following the Empire is kind of what got us into this mess. And so, she kind of throws that out. And then I come upon the conversation. That conversation sort of ends because they come up on this mountain peak that's like sticking up. Looks like it's sticking up out of the whatever level they're on. And she tells him it's Umate, which is the highest mountain on Coruscant. It's kind of a line.
It's kind of like the whole city had been built, kind of around it, and that's kind of like the kind of like last natural part.
This peak. And so she says she's trying to establish a rapport with him. And so obviously one of the best ways to establish rapport with someone is to tease them. So she says, oh, you want to touch it? And he he looks at it. He said, well, can I do that? Is that allowed? And she said, oh, this is not the Empire. You can, live a little. And so he reaches over, and there's probably like this, thousands of foot drop there in between the platform that they're on and the top of the mountain. And he touches it, and immediately this cop droid, comes
a little siren,
comes out. The little siren says, no touchy.
Pretty much.
No touchy. And then it startles him, and he drops his ice cream, and the droid cleans up the ice cream and says, no littering. It's really kind of, and then they walk off, and he tells Candace, you knew that was going to happen. And she said, yeah, I did. But the look on your face was priceless. So, so she's getting her foot in the door there, guys. And, naturally we were suspicious of her from the get-go. But she's establishing that rapport, and Pershing is pretty much all alone. And so, oh, hey, Nick, thanks for popping in. Mark. Oh my goodness. So at any rate, the next scene that they cut to, these are kind of quick little scenes, but the next interview is his first interview with what I call the droid therapist.
Yeah.
And obviously they have these meetings set up to see how how the new people are adapting to their surroundings. They're kind of monitoring, because they are former Empire. So the New Republic wants to keep some kind of an eye on them to see how they're adjusting and what have you. So the droid,
the intent is to assimilate them into the New Republic society.
You're right.
Yeah.
So they have a go to this droid therapist, for lack of a better term, and the droid is asking, are you adjusting well? in this mechanical droid voice, do you feel any animosity toward your superiors or the New Republic? Just asking him, rote questions. And the doctor says, no, I don't, no, I'm good. I'm good. And then he thinks of just a second. And he said, he asked the droid, if he were to decide to pursue his research on his own, would that be allowed? And the droid says, the droid accesses and said, I see that you are, a geneticist in clone research, and says, that would be prohibited. That would not be allowed for him to do that. So,
welcome in, Miss.
So Kane has Pershing thinking. Kane obviously. Oh, hey, Miss Najuma, welcome in. Welcome. Kane has Pershing thinking about his research and wanting to return to his research. And the droid says, no, that wouldn't be allowed. So Kane just kind of gets up and walks out. So we see this, this theme is kind of progressing here. She's got him thinking, really want to help the Republic. How can you help the Republic, sitting, at a data entry terminal?
He knows he's capable of more, and, he's dissatisfied with this, grunt work that he's been given.
She's feeling that.
Yeah.
And so he talks with Kane again. It cuts to another little conversation that they have. And she encourages him, to do that. And she says, well, your research is so important. What would you need if you were gonna, if you're gonna do that? And she tells him that she can get him a mobile lab station, but that it will require going outside their designated perimeter. Now, as temptation goes, she is like the perfect, tempter, because she draws him in, with the friendship. She keeps kind of putting this idea in his mind. And, and then she says,
and his intentions, he ends up trust, she ends up gaining his trust, and his intentions are to be helpful. His intentions are to, help society, help people from, avoiding a similar fate to his mom. And so, he's, he
knows his work is important and that he has something to offer.
Yes.
And he's hoping that he can do that for the New Republic, and where his work will be used for something good. His intentions are completely honorable. But she is really playing on that. And, she says, I could get you a mobile lab station, but it will require going outside their designated perimeter. And of course, when she says that, the first time, he immediately says, oh no, no, I can't. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. But the door's open, the door's cracked. And she, so at this point, we know beyond a shadow of doubt that she's up to no good. She says that she's willing to take the risk of helping him. She says, we're here and we want to help the New Republic, and the New Republic is doing well, but they're struggling, and you could help them. You have something to offer, so much more than what you're giving. You're valuable to the New Republic, if only you are allowed to pursue your work. So she's stoking that discontent in him, and she tells him that she's willing to take the risk of helping him, since his research is important, as he says, and he's still resistant. And she says, well, just sleep on it. Just sleep on it. Just do that. So, as we get further into this thing, she keeps, she's reeling him in, folks. Then we cut back to Dr. Pershing's cubicle at work again, the mundane, work that he's doing, data entry work, essentially. And he comments to a coworker that comes up that all the Imperial equipment that they're cataloging and destroying could still be put to good use. He says it's Imperial, but it's still good equipment, and it can be used for good. The coworker, the coworker says, no, it really has to be destroyed. And what you're doing here, is it's important. We've got so much to do. Once we finish cataloging all of this, we still have to decommission the Alliance ships. So, that kind of, you're thinking, why, in your mind, you're thinking the same thing he's thinking. So he tells Pershing that he can submit a request, to the powers that be, but he's not even sure that's even possible, from somebody in the program. And so Pershing says, just forget it, just forget it. No biggie. Mm-hmm. So then during the next, mundane interview with the droid therapist asks exactly the same questions again. Do you feel any animosity to your coworkers? Do you feel any animosity towards the New Republic or, any of your superiors? No. But he asks, so he you could tell that the wheels are turning. He finally asks, he says, is our main purpose here to help the New Republic? And the droid says, their main purpose is to help the New Republic, and that takes precedence over everything else. And the droid says, it does. Mm-hmm. So Pershing gets up and walks out. That's all he wanted to hear. He goes, meets with Kane, and says that he wants to go get the mobile lab station. So he's still feeling guilty about it. He's obviously feeling guilty, but he keeps telling himself, "Oh, I'm helping the New Republic." Yeah. He really wants to do that.
It's for the greater good that that I go get it.
Right. The end is going to justify the means. Is basically what he's telling himself. So he's obviously pretty gullible. Yeah. He seems to me like he is a science geek. He's probably, doesn't have a ton of friends. And so he's really pretty gullible, and he's justifying all of it because he really does want to continue his research. I feel like his motives are honorable. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you want to take back over again?
Sure. Yeah. So they have to kind of, they're leaving their, designated perimeter to get to the Imperial disposal yards. So they have to sneak onto a hover train. Pershing's very nervous when Kane tells him where they're going. And they have to, essentially jump off the ship, the train, the hover train.
Yeah. And they board the train. They don't have a ticket, obviously, because they're not supposed to be on the train to start with to get to the disposal yards. And he said, he really kind of panics when she tells him where they're going. He says, have you done this before? And she says, where do you think I got the travel biscuits? Yeah. So,
let's see here. Let's see. So they're making their way to one of the ships. Kane takes him to one of the labs. He's got to hurry. It's creepy, kind of, deserted hallways, lots of ominous music. He's excited to see the equipment. He's gathering it up all really quickly. And they hear a noise. And Kane goes to keep watch. And they end up, he tries to get away. They end up being captured by New Republic agents.
Yeah, it's really creepy, when they go into that huge Imperial, ship. I'm not sure what kind of it's a freighter or what it is, but it's really creepy because it's, huge, and it's seemingly deserted, and, there are creaks going on and noises, and it's really pretty creepy. Just to know that it's Imperial is creepy enough. You expect Darth Vader to come around the next corner. And so they,
anyway, they're apprehended, and they're both caught together. And then she flips the script on him.
Yeah.
And and makes it out to make it seem like she apprehended him, in the process of doing something that's painting outside the lines. So Kane, obviously she betrayed him, and she turns him in. They arrest Dr. Pershing. Yeah, completely set him up. And he's trying to insist with them that she brought me here, she set me up, and his and it's even worse because he's newer to the amnesty program.
Yes.
And so he seemingly has been there long enough to progress up the ladder in the amnesty program. And so
purposefully, I'm sure she's a plant.
Yeah. And so
she's an Imperial plant.
Yeah. She's wolf in sheep's clothing. And so they go to this New Republic facility. Hold on a second. Sorry. My dog's barking. I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you.
So they go to the New Republic facility of some kind, and Pershing is now strapped to a table. They've arrested him, and he is strapped to a table. There's pleasant music, calming music playing in the background, and he is trying to tell the attendant that's there, I can explain. The attendant, by the way, is amphibious Mon Calamari species, like Admiral Akbar. We all remember Admiral Akbar from Star Wars. So
it's a trap.
It's trap. It's trap. And he actually uses that line, which he says he's desperately trying to get away, especially when he realizes that he is strapped to a table with a 602 mitigator machine, and Dr. Pershing says it's a mind flayer. It's a mind flayer, and the attendant says, we found that in
this scene is so creepy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Like, in low voltages, they can be helpful in rehabilitation. And I've undergone some of the treatments myself and felt very refreshed. So it's like, ooh, this is just not right.
We're going to fry your brain just a little bit.
We're going to fry just a little bit. Just a little bit. And so Dr. Pershing is just, panicking and trying to explain. And he says, that, and of course the amnesty officer, or the officer, the attendant says, there's no need to give us any more information. Amnesty officer G68 has already submitted a report.
Yeah.
So, she's, you can imagine what that looks like. She's set him up. She's boxed him in really well. And, he panics and he looks up at the window there.
It's kind of like in like police shows where you can if you're in the other room, you can see into the interrogation room.
It's a one-way. Yeah, it's a one-way mirror. And he says she brought me there. It was a trap. Yeah. So I don't think anything like that is a coincidence with Filoni and Favreau, especially with the attendant being Mon Calamari species. So he yells at the window, "Why did you set me up?" And so then, it shows Kane behind the glass in an observation room, and she's talking with the officer who's at the controls of the mind flayer. And, she lies, and she's so cool and calm and collected and, diabolical. She says, well, he was my friend, and I'm so sorry that he relapsed. And, the says, but it's so wonderful that he has a friend like you. And we're so proud that we've had such a success with people like you.
Got them all fooled.
Oh boy, she really does. So he sets the mind flayer to like the low setting, and
it was like this dial, this dial you can turn.
It's a dial. So you gotta wonder, and then he's gonna step out of the room, right?
Yeah.
So she says, "Oh, well, he was my friend and he's relapsed, but I would really like to stay." And he says, "Oh, you're welcome to stay." It's just oozing. It's just sugary, just makes you want to throw up because you know what she's about to do. And of course, she reaches over and cranks turns the dial.
Turns that thing up to 11, essentially. Yeah. It goes from down at the small end all the way as far as you could go,
All the way
and you
around.
just see
Yeah.
the voltage like pick up, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's yelling and everything, and oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I think Dr. Pershing is gone, y'all. I think
yeah,
we've lost Dr. Pershing. That's safe
yeah,
to say.
just
And then,
completely cooked his brain seemingly.
well, and the cherry on top of that cake is that as she's standing there all calm and collected with this glare, this satisfied glare on her face,
Hmm.
she pulls a yellow travel biscuit from her pocket and takes a bite.
Yeah,
So she's done it. She's mission
uh-huh,
accomplished for her.
yeah,
So yeah, so
and so yeah, I
God,
mean, she 100% used him. He was able to
yeah,
gather all the equipment he needed,
yeah.
to do his cloning work, and so
Mm,
she essentially is able to seize that equipment and then
mhm.
write him off.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
yeah,
really sad because
oh
again, I think his intentions were honorable.
yeah,
He and here's another thing. This, yes, the empire, I mean, the empire is evil, the new republic is, they're supposed to be the good guys and what have you. But the new republic has bureaucratic red tape,
yep,
and they obviously, this guy, Pershing falls through the cracks. he
yeah,
he just falls through the cracks, and nobody in the new republic thought to say, well, he's Dr. Pershing, we need to find a place for him,
yeah,
and instead he gets stuck down,
yeah,
doing very menial work, menial, but
yeah,
not as important as what he could have
yeah,
contributed. And it's kind of a testament to just the bureaucracy,
yeah.
that he got
Yeah, there's a
lost in the
ton of red
shuffle.
tape, and we see that
Yeah.
that's kind of a continuing theme.
Mhm.
Their hands are so
It's true.
full with having
Yeah.
to establish this new republic
Right.
that and there's just uh so many different levels of
Mhm.
command.
Government. Oh,
You
yeah.
got to get approval, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's a continuing theme throughout this
Mhm.
season with the new republic.
It's true. It's true. They're having their own problems.
Yeah,
They're having their own problems with organization, and there's a lot going on, and
yeah.
so
Which makes
you
sense. I
know
mean, they're
it
transitioning
does.
out of the
It does.
imperial stage
Mhm.
of the imperial rule of the galaxy to this new form of government, and you're 100% right. He just falls through the cracks.
Mhm. Mhm. So let's say then you want to take this next one, William.
Yeah.
Back at
So
the
yeah, I'll just
meanwhile, back at the covert.
yeah, just that last scene of her watching this machine fry Dr. Pershing's brain, and
Yeah.
just the way she looks at him and pulls out that Imperial travel biscuit and takes a
Mhm.
chomp out of it. It's just, I mean,
Yeah.
they
This
they framed
small.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they framed that as well as they could have. Just how diabolical and evil
Mhm.
she is.
Yeah.
But again, we transition back over to the focus of the episode changes back over to Mando and Bo-Katan. They land at the covert. They've Mandalorian covert. They've kind of
Mhm.
had to bounce around a little bit. Um, but oh, cool, Mark. Thanks for being here.
Oh, okay. Thank
But
you. Marcus ghost watching.
yeah. Um, So Mando tells Bo that, hey, keep your helmet on. This covert still lives by the old ways. They're greeted by Paz Vizsla, and he stops them,
Mhm.
and and he's sticking to his story. He sees Mando as an apostate,
Yeah.
and
Well, keep in mind the last, it wasn't too long ago probably that they fought it out for the Darksaber because he
uh-huh,
challenged Mando for the
yeah,
Darksaber in the Book of Boba Fett. So,
yeah,
he sees him as kind of an adversary,
yeah,
and he's an apostate. So,
yeah. And so he asked Bo-Katan, he can tell by her armor that she's a night owl. He says, "Who are you, night owl?" And she tells him that she's Bo-Katan Kryze of Clan Kryze. Paz Vizsla says that they are both apostates since Clan Kryze fell from the way. And Mando tells Paz that he has proof that they've been to the living waters. And so they go in the cave. Mando pulls out the vial, gives it to the armorer. She pulls it into, kind of like this basin, reminiscent of the Pensieve from, for Harry Potter fans. And confirms that, by looking at this water, she's able to confirm that, yes, these are waters from the living waters. And so she is, officially announces that Mando has been redeemed, and then turns her attention to Bo-Katan and tells her by creed she is also redeemed, since she hasn't removed her helmet since she bathed the unintentionally. She is unintentionally just by diving into the waters to save Mando and keeping her helmet on. She's unintentionally viewed as being in good standing as a Mandalorian.
Yeah, and if the armor says it, it's got to be true.
With this covert. So Bo protests. She says that she doesn't live by the way, and the armor tells her that she can join their covert and welcomes her. It's like, man, how did I get myself into this?
She was not expecting it at all. She was not expecting it, because Mando tells her on approach to the, as they're flying in, he says, it's best if you keep your helmet on, because they, these are children of the Watch to Bo-Katan.
And so she says, "Welcome, Bo-Katan of Clan Kryze," and all the Mandalorians in the covert, walk in and welcome her into the clan. Touch her shoulder,
touch her on the shoulder,
and you can tell, and again, body language is key, since we can't see her face. That you can tell that she's moved by being accepted by this group of Mandalorians.
Because keep in mind, guys, she just watched her home be blown up.
So
she's got.
Her castle had been destroyed, bombed, and then also too, she had been abandoned by that group of Mandalorians that she had been running with previously, and so they abandoned her, and so she was kind of a lone wolf, and just very dejected by everything to do with her people and her culture, and now she has she's been accepted by this group of Mandalorians, and so it's really neat to see.
It is. It really is. And as we said, I mean, her planet's gone. Her people are. She tells Mando that they've gone off as mercenaries when she lost the Darksaber. They basically scattered, and then and I think probably she isolated herself in her castle. I think she just had kind of lost hope, and she just watched her castle be blown up by the Empire. So this really has meaning to her, that this covert is welcoming her.
I mean, to go from seeing a mythosaur, a live mythosaur, to being accepted by a group, this group of Mandalorians.
She's on quite the journey.
Significant for her character.
It really is. Yeah. And it's good, and she needs it. She really needs it. She needs that right now. So so they welcome her back in, and the armor pronounces them both part of their covert until such time as they choose to leave. So and that was pretty much it for this episode. I enjoyed this episode. A lot of people have, because of the Pershing, scenes and all of that took up a lot of this episode. A lot of people have really compared this to, so that it has Andor vibes to it. And that's true. That's really true. I really did not expect that little side trip.
I didn't either.
I really didn't, but I enjoyed it, and I think
it's important to further the story. Also,
it's important for further the story.
And when you think about like with Rise of Skywalker, there's the quote that has become kind of iconic, kind of I guess a little bit notorious. The quote is that somehow Palpatine returned.
Right.
And so it's just like, rather than like giving us a lot to go off of like how, like showing us how he returned, it's just like, all right, well, I'm just going to throw this line in here and say, oh, somehow Palpatine returned. So, really this, having seen all the other episodes that followed, this helps us understand and keeps us from a situation of, oh, somehow insert name here returned. It helps us understand, the later plot points, like how we got here.
It does, It does, and it's foreshadowing. This, I feel like so many times Star Wars fans get, when we have an episode like this, Star Wars fans go, oh, well, why, what does this have to do with anything? Why do they go off on this to, chase this rabbit? Well, just calm down. There is an ongoing story.
Let them tell the story.
Let them tell the story. Calm down. Keep your shirt on. As the saying goes. And so that's kind of where what this episode is about. I think IMDb users rated this episode a 7 of 10, which is pretty high. They still liked it. The Mandalorian covert has a mythosaur skull hanging in one of its chambers. So, we just see that the mythosaur is central to Mandalorian lore. And so we're going to see, later, we're always going to see him in everywhere. But to, again, that live mythosaur sighting, is going to be key. Again, the central story as we continue with the episodes. I wanted to say too that the dynamic and the rapport between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin has consistently been one of the best aspects of the show, especially if you've gone and watched it all the way through. Watching their friendship develop, has been really fun because they have huge philosophical differences. We started this, they've kind of had an uneasy alliance up to this point in seasons, in season 2. And so we're going to see their relationship develop, I think, in the coming episodes. It's been a lot of fun. This is, pretty solid episode. It was interesting to see them kind of take that side quest a little bit. But it's important, and like you said, obvious foreshadowing. It's like everybody, not everything has to be instant gratification. Let's, strap in, sit back, enjoy the ride. Yes. And it's always a good one with the Mandalorian.
Anything else you wanted to mention from this episode? And remember, I mentioned earlier, go back very early on in this episode after they leave Mandalore. They're in the ship. Bo-Katan says, I'd offer to throw you a feast, but I don't think you're removing your helmet anytime soon.
I'm going to go back and watch it.
Mando says, this is the way. Bo-Katan says, it reiterates, this is the way. And then Grogu kind of mumbles something that almost sounds like this is the way. So
now that is also significant, William, because Bo-Katan, has totally not been a child of the Watch. I mean, she has kind of forsaken the traditional Mandalorian the way. And so for her to, for when he says this is the way, for her to say this is the way, is that the first time? One of the first times we've heard her say that?
It's only she hasn't said it very
often.
Said it.
Maybe she has said it a couple
times. She has said it previously.
She has said it.
But But yeah,
But she really, this is the first time she said it in this, in this season. And I think she says it with some heart finally. I think she just, so she's kind of,
she's
coming
coming back around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She is
she's coming back
around. There also, guys, I don't know if you noticed, but or if you got this, when I, at the end of the episode, a QR code popped up at the end of the episode with a Shop Disney Mando merch link. And if you click on that, there's also a shop tab. If you notice that, if you notice your tabs down there when you're watching the show and it ends and you kind of go back to the menu, there's a shop tab there.
Interesting.
That takes you to, if you use the QR code or you follow that shop tab, it will take you specifically for the Mandalorian merch. So I thought that was interesting. Now it might have been there, but before now, and I'm just now noticing it, but I just thought I'd mention it because it is there. And the QR code just popped up. I mean, So,
and for Star Wars fans, there are already some May the 4th offerings that have floated out onto Shop Disney.
Oh, I haven't seen those yet. Well, I haven't seen those yet. Yeah,
check it out.
Close.
Just a few things, they haven't rolled it out. Shop Disney always, the servers always take a beating on May 4th because they release limited,
exactly,
limited release merchandise. Yeah, there you go.
Great. Exactly. Yeah. We're all too familiar with that, aren't we? Yeah, they do. So,
anything else you want to mention as we're wrapping up here?
I can't think of anything.
Guys, go back and watch our show on Tuesday. If you're a Star Wars fan, we did Hitchhiker Chat this week, talking about some of the news coming out of Star Wars Celebration. So, if you're interested to get caught up on any of that news, we discussed that at length in our stream on Tuesday night. So, next week we're going to be discussing the episode 4 of season 3, which is chapter 20, which is entitled "The Foundling." I don't know if we mentioned what was the name of this episode. Did we mention that?
Yes, it's the
Minds of Mandalore. Oh yeah, the Convert. Yes.
Convert.
There you go.
It's the Convert, and the Convert is Dr. Pershing, who is that's referring to Dr. Pershing.
Technically, you could also say that
bo-katan.
Bo-katan is also a bit of a convert as well. Albeit unintentionally, but anyway. Still, regardless, she is in good standing with the covert.
She is. So it really could apply to both of them. A lot of the commentaries, or I read up on some of this to people, and they thought it had more to do with Pershing. But it could also, I mean, it could also very much apply to because she's getting her faith back. She's getting her faith back.
Yeah. And so anyway, right, I mean, Pershing's the obvious choice, for being a convert. But I think the same kind of applies to Bo-Katan as well, as she's kind of regaining her her faith, getting her legs back, if you will. Building up that confidence again, and being less skeptical, and disappointed in her people and her culture. And so again, we're going to be talking about episode 4, season 3 next week, chapter 20, The Foundling. It was 12:00 p.m. Central, 1:00 Eastern next Thursday. And again, join us on Tuesday night talking about for our regularly scheduled Hitchhiker Chat, Tuesday nights, 9:00 p.m. Central, 10:00 Eastern.
Looking forward to it. And check out, I dropped a link to our playlist as well. If you want to go back and watch the first two episodes of season 3 of Mandomania, where we do our Mandalorian reviews, or, we also did seasons 1 and 2, and there is a link to the playlist there. Check that out. And, because we really have a lot of fun doing this. And also, last thing, our D23 Tron preview video will also be up on Saturday. So we look for, Flo, hey, welcome in.
Flo.
Good to see you.
Thanks for being here.
But yeah, that will be up. Really enjoyed that.
I'm looking forward to watching that. Oh, I can't tell if Mom cut out or not, or if it's just my phone. Let me know, chat, if Mom cut out. Because she's currently frozen on my screen. Let me know if she cut out. Or maybe I'm frozen. I don't know. Let me know in the chat if you don't mind. The joys of live streaming on YouTube. But let's see here. Again, we all have every Tuesday night, 9:00 p.m. Central, 10:00 Eastern. Like, subscribe, ring the bell if you haven't already. Let's see here. Oh, she's frozen too. Okay. Thank you. She's frozen. All righty. Well then, I'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. Hey, all right, she finally dropped. It's me on the big screen. But anyway, everyone, hope you all have a great week. Really enjoying season 3 of The Mandalorian. Again, join us next week as we talk about episode 4 of season 3. Check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can email us at thehitchhikingbones@gmail.com or send us a direct message on Instagram if you want to reach out to us. Again, thanks everybody for being here. Thank you to Aunt Susan and Aunt Joy, Jillian, Kylie, and other family members. Thank you to Jonathan Sean. Thank you to Wonderful World of Walter's dad, Mark, Angela DOD, or Angela is our dream, Dean the Turkey Lexter, Katie Mack, Wishing on Stars, Mike Wheeler, Derpy Entertainment, Tina DCS, Movie Mania Nick, Najuma Brown, Jillian Bo, Mickey Travels, and Link Flowbeck, and Don Bone also showed up in the chat as well as on screen. But
sorry about
thanks
that.
everybody for being here.
Y'all. Hadn't happened in a while.
We really enjoyed talking about The Mandalorian, and so we appreciate y'all dropping in on us and talking about it together.
Yeah. Yep. Couple of pops wanted to show you just right quick before we log off. This is Mando and Ahsoka. Got these on Amazon.com. So just a couple of really cool pops that I got there. Shove those on Hitchhiker Chat. And last but not least, just a quick announcement. Today was the first day that they opened for annual passes. Limited sales. Limited sales on annual passes from 5:45 this morning to 11:10 a.m. I waited on annual pass and I did get one. So I am excited. I'm so excited, y'all, about that. So yes, I did. Katie, did you get one? I don't know if Katie.
She did. Yeah, she commented on our Facebook post. Okay. Speaking of following us on social media, Katie commented on our Facebook post, and I saw that earlier today.
Super. Okay, so we
break out the train whistle here real quick. Hey, yes. Amy, thanks for dropping in on us. Amy, AJC Magic TV. Thanks for being here. Let me get you written down here, Amy. But yes, this is the way. So yeah, big, very, very excited. Pumped up for Mom. We've wanted to be annual pass holders for a long time, and so I'm excited that you were able to get one.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway, celebratory train whistle coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yay! This is the way. I'm really excited. And I've already made park reservations for our trip in June. So
sweet.
So
even
we're
better.
Excited about that. And thanks, guys. Yeah, Katie, I'm really excited. If any of you, waited and got a pass, congratulations on that. Mm-hmm. So that's about all I know.
Yeah. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Hope you all have a great weekend. Again, enjoying the series. Looking forward to talking about it more next week. Remember, at the Hitchhiking Bones YouTube channel, there's always room for one more. So please
hurry back.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
This is the
Have
way.
a great week. Till
We
the
have
Spire
spoken.
travelers.
May the force be with you always.
Always.